bookshop, the last independent literary island in the famous literary town. A special welcome to our Minister for Arts and other faculties, who has left behind him a world of popping champagne corks and celebration receptions for the referendum yes vote. He has come among us to launch Rhymes and Relics, a collection of poems by the incredibly talented John Malachy Raftery. So welcome to you, John Malachy. Where is he?
Thanks, Denny.
So welcome to you, John Malachy. This talented young man he comes among us encrusted with honours and many academic achievements in other countries and other cultures. And can I say that although you come from faraway Glenamaddy, you are coming here to Listowel, and you are amongst friends and admirers who have seen your many collaborations with those televisual masters John Lynch, Timmy Griffin and Charlie Nolan. John Malachy keeps drifting out of sight here behind my back. I can't get him down. I can't, he's a moving target. John Malachy, we have seen you in our hills, we have already seen you in our buildings, we have seen you up to your neck in muck in our bogs, and we have seen you everywhere we look, paddling in the rivers. And all of those locations you have adorned with your poetic gifts. When we, the ordinary people, look at places, we see the sights and the sounds of tourist brochures, but you peel away the surface and you reveal for us a world of wisdom and antiquity. When politicians look at places, they count the number of first preference votes. But one man who need never do the mental arithmetic of vote counting is our minister here today, because he is always head of the poll in this constituency. So it is very appropriate that we have such an important figure amongst us, because nobody ever in the history of literature has done more to promote and embrace the writers, the poets and the playwrights of his local area than the fresh-faced, eager, talented young football politician here beside me, Jimmy Deenihan.
Yeah, I'd just like to interrupt there. I was talking to Johnny Mulvihill yesterday, and he said you were a crap player. You know. I think he was joking.
This is the third event this week, literary event that I've been to, that Jimmy has been involved in. Monday night he gave us a wonderful night at St. John's, celebrating the works of our great Listowel incredible family, the O'Rahillys, Alfred O'Rahilly, and already this morning has been at the Plaza for the launch of that great actor, promoter, producer, Barry Caston, who played such an important role in the work of John Beakey. So I will now call upon our much beloved and successful Minister for Arts, Culture and the Gaeltacht to officially launch John Malachy's Rhymes and Reasons. Jimmy Deenihan, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Danny. And over the years, if ever I wanted someone to give me a real introduction, I always made sure it was Danny. Anyway, Danny, thank you very much. I suppose, like all of you, probably asked the question about who was John Malachy Raftery. Now, I met him around with John in the past, and Timmy and Charles, filming in front of the castle and so on, but maybe to a lot of people around here, you may not know him around here, but after this book's up to me, you will. But I looked up his record anyway, especially his academic record and his global connections, as Danny said, and it makes very, very interesting reading. So I'll just tell you what this man is all about, because we're very fortunate that we have yourself. I know it's in recent years that you've connected with North Kerry, but I think it's very important for North Kerry that you have made this connection, and obviously through this book you've shown a real intimate feeling for North Kerry as well, and for the places of North Kerry and the people. So, as you know, as Danny said, John Malachy has a distinguished academic career. He graduated from Trinity College with a first honours degree in business studies. This was followed by a master's and later by a PhD. So it should be Dr. John Malachy Raftery we should be addressing him here. And he has been awarded fellowships from the University of Helsinki, Copenhagen University and Oslo University in Norway. So we have a real international figure here amongst us. He's fluent in Irish, French, Danish, Swedish and Norwegian. Very few, I would say, in the world would have that combination of languages. When you throw in the Irish word, obviously. And he's currently involved in giving in-career cultural courses for Nordic teachers of English in the west of Ireland with the appropriate title Absorbing Ireland. He also provides poetry workshops for schools, and I must say those students I'm sure feel very privileged. John is also involved in reminiscent film production and distribution, and he's also an avid enthusiast of horticulture, organic let me say, and so he's a man really for all seasons. Now in the 70s and 80s he was a visiting professor in sociology and psychology at Oslo University and Limerick and Galway universities. And John's life is now very much involved in cultural pursuits. So this is the question I ask myself: how could an international figure like yourself meet up with John Lynch? So it's an interesting story. So there had to be so many way, obviously, connection. And John Malachy contacted John Lynch, and John, as you know, has been making films here in the Stole going back to the early 70s, before it was fashionable to be making films. And as a result, he's a very important archive built up of North Kerry and of Listowel that without him it just simply would not be there now. And his work now is gone to the Irish Film Institute for preservation and so on, which is great. I think it was the time I brought him down to Listowel that I met you, John, that you just built up that connection with him. But certainly we have that great literary archive in Listowel, but John has provided the whole film archive, which is so important. So John contacted John Lynch and seeking a copy of the time of the film the way I remember it, and this is one of the best pieces, I suppose, of film production, and I wouldn't call it amateur film production because it was very professionally done, that ever came out of this town. And I suppose the most important part of it, John, was that it was scripted and narrated by Eamon Keane, John B's brother. And people would say that Eamon Keane had a better voice than Richard Burton. But any of you that ever heard him would appreciate that. He was really an immensely talented individual. So in 1999, when John was videoing the saga of Jack Griffin in the last of the Free Rangers of Ballydonoghue, he asked John Malachy to compose some poetry for the script to give the production obviously a major boost. In a matter of days he received a number of poems, newly composed and finely tuned on the subject matter. Later in the editing process there was another request for extra poetry, and John Malachy again obliged. In 2000 then, John Malachy faced the camera himself here in North Kerry for the production of Ace of Place in the Ballydonoghue and Ballylongford area of North Kerry. Here we are. So you can see all of these productions emerging. In 2002, then John Lynch went to Glenamaddy for the production of More Than Four Roads. We all know that great song. We often danced to it in Ballybunnin as youngsters. 4 roads to Glenamaddy.
4 roads to Glenamaddy.
This has been all rehearsed now in case you don't know. We've been at this all day. Well, certainly, and the great Brendan Shine, immortalised that.
Big Tom.
And Big Tom afterwards. Brendan Shine as well.
Did he as well?
Oh yeah. Days in Finnoog. They had him down 2 years ago and he played it at the Crossroads.
Yeah, you were going to more dances than I was.
So in that More Than Four Roads, John did the interviews, narration and poetry recitals in his own place, and obviously John did the shooting of it. Then in 2011, John descended on the Stole and its vicinity for Regions of Rhymes.
And rhymers,
Rhymers, yeah. And in 2011, they again spread their net to cover Lixna or Firth, Ratu, for the production of Region of Relics afterwards. So certainly, it's a really very interesting collection. It's an amazing collection.
There were 2 others as well.
And it's all about down by the Glen side and fishing on the river field. Now I was involved myself there, and Timmy Griffin was the main historian in it, on a documentary on the river field for the Literary Centre down below. It's down if you want to get a look at it. But certainly we showed a connection there between literature and the river field at that particular time. So I was looking at the poetry here, and certainly we produced a book some years ago on the Lays of Knockkerry by a man called D.C. Hennessy. Now D.C. Hennessy, he was the first published poet of Knockkerry. It was published in 1874, and it was all about Knockkerry. There should be some copies around. But since that particular book of poetry, I certainly haven't seen any book as concentrated on Knockkerry subjects, all in one book. So it's extraordinary that that gap there remains nearly 150 years, but I have a few books, I'll give it to you. So really, John, what you've done, you have, I suppose, highlighted parts of Knockkerry that people may not have taken notice of. All Knockkerry is a wonderful place. Obviously, there are parts of it that people mightn't associate certain events or people or history, and you certainly rekindle that. I'm delighted that in this book as well that you have referred to Michael Dowling. And as you all know, Michael Dowling was the man that organised 14 Flahannakeol here in the Stole and Knockkerry, and you recognise that here in Michael Dowling, who was a tremendous worker for the community, one of the greatest community people that ever came out of this town. And also I'm delighted as well that you recognise John Lynch in it. Probably the first poem ever on you, John. So I will let John Malachy obviously recite some of the poetry. I'm glad that you recognise the new bridge and the fact that Takshimsa is built there, and the fact that we are still encouraging young people to learn how to sing and dance, and that is thriving and is continuing, and Shim Satira is obviously surviving very strongly. So overall, I think this is another great tradition, Danny, to the whole corpus of what is Knockkerry literature. Just to tell you all here, people from outside Knockkerry, usually during the winter there's a book published here every 2 weeks, or maybe 4 weeks. In Knockkerry, people publish books. I even published a book myself before Christmas. Michael Guerin here has published a number of books. And it's part of the process here to publish a book. People have total confidence in themselves as writers around here, because I suppose we take confidence from the people who've gone before us. So this is certainly another great edition, and thank you very much for your interest, and I'm sure there's more to come. because of your age and because of your international experience. I'm sure you'll see other opportunities here in North Kerry. And as I said to Barry Casson today, Barry came down here in 1971. He's in the photograph of the first Writers' Week group, and you've been coming here now for the past 10 years, so you should consider yourself now a Listowel man in North Kerry. So thank you very much.
Jimmy,
Delighted to
thanks
be here.
very much. Yeah. I'd like to first of all ask you to put up your hands who's from Listowel or North Kerry. So I don't have any performance to make this evening because this isn't a performance venue at all. You know, I like to have a projector and a bit of a sound and stuff like that for performing. But anyway, it was just happenstance to meet John Lynch about 12 years ago, getting the film The Way I Remember It. And then we kept in contact, and how many handwritten longhand letters have we exchanged, John, in the past 12 years? That's our favourite mode of communication. Maybe 500 or something. I suppose, yeah. So it's kind of one of my to-do list every week, write to John Lynch and so on. And I enjoy doing that. Even my son Jamie, who's a chef in England, I write to him longhand. He says that's nice. It's nicer than email or Facebook or that. You don't delete it. You know, you kind of keep somebody's handwritten letter and so on. And Tim Griffin is the producer of these and a mine of historical information and a total and absolute inspiration. He's a man of great faith and hope and charity and other qualities as well. Jack Griffin was the last of the Free Rangers of Ballydonoghue, and he was an inspiration for that film, and Charles Nolan is the right-hand man of John Lynch in making those films. So this little book then is all pieces from those films, and that's why it emerged, because John suggested that we collect them into one book. You see, so. There's far too much about me so far, so I'll just read a few little verses. I was going to project this, but I can read them. A little tribute to Michael Dowling. And I didn't know Michael Dowling personally, but John sent me the film footage of the funeral and so on, and based on that, I just made up this, and I'll just read a few little verses from it. You know. It's called A Bloom Cubed, because Michael Dowling used to say the job is OXO, and that's OXO cubes. Square's steeple tolls the knell of his parting day. Michael Dowling's spirited soul ascended far away, from remains below. But much remains, a rooted presence destined to vibrate on in mindful memory with resonance. Lighting up midwinter's drear with music, song and cheer, to all hearts who knew the man, a vital presence dear. Local history and culture imbuing precise sense of place, frugality and moderation imbuing balanced inner space. At midpoint in native faiths and native cultures intersection, he guided and ordered oncoming traffic, ensuring protection for frail, uncertain shoots to grow and blossom and bloom, actualizing possibilities that showed door to gloom and doom. I'm skipping a lot of verses, but that's kind of sample of it. Graveside family musicians, highest expression known to man of sadness for a passing and joy for a life, played with elan. Rare euphonious mix of sound, emotion, good vibration, bowron, fiddle, flutes, accordion, real echoes of creation. And then one of the lines that was quoted in that funeral footage was what he said just before he died: "Good night, Rebecca, I'll see you again sometime." For purity, simplicity, last poignant chime, what better line? I'm fine, the job is OXO, squared and cubed his deepest nature. All jobs done and smiling, faith and hope defined his stature. Last verse then: mourners en masse, by in memoriam music and melody moved, concelebrated with tears and also smiles, he would have approved. They slowly take their leave, ponderous on their last mile home. Private thoughts alone on Michael, now at rest in Listowel lone. So that's a little tribute, second hand. to Michael Downing. And a dynamo like that in any community, I think I'm a bit like John Lynch, we're a bit reticent and a little bit not organising too many things, but still doing some things. But the likes of Michael was very, what would you say, outgoing and so on. Then another little one from that John asked me to, because John Lynch was the man that asked me to say these few little ones. Tom Kelly was a complete craftsman. Boat building was his métier. This is connected with the film Fishing on the River Feel now. And Tom Kelly was a fisher boat builder. But he could equally have turned his agile hand to anything. By daylight or by candlelight, his deft, sure touch achieved an outstanding result. So this is just 3 4-line verses. Tom Kelly built his worthy working boat by candlelight. He wore his warmest coat behind his house. In winds the flame did flicker. No need had he for any drop of liquor. Like John and Tim. I don't know about the others. But how about you, John? But bit by bit he built and never did his spirit flag or wilt, giving his all, sewing, splicing to the hilt, until he had the craft at perfect tilt. Standing back upon completion, he took a bow, wiping final sweat from his trusty brow. Fore and aft, from stern to prow, from port to starboard, he knew how. Is that right, John?
That's right.
Yeah, so you knew him, yeah. So that's a little bit about craft built, and is it making sense to you, this?
Yes,
And
yes,
this is
yes.
so on. Then there's a nice place here, Temple Bawn, or Temple Bawn. It's a little children's burial ground in Listowel, and that's a fairly long one, but maybe to pick a little one or two from it. This is Lost and Found, titled. There but for the grace of God we ponder, go we, etc. Thinking ourselves lucky to a fault unreasonably, we who will never know the hollow feel of hunger's moan, or knife on metal grate of skin on brittle bone, or numbness of a living hell, we who have so much on our minds those wild blooms touch. So there's lots of other verses there, but that's a little bit on Temple Bawn. If you get a chance in Listowel, it's a nice quiet place to go and visit. Others, I don't want to keep people too long, but I do want to read something associated with my friend Jack Griffin here, who was in the last of the Free Rangers, and he was an expert hand milker, and this is called an even squirt. Squirt. He's what you might call a quiet, unassuming kind, good-naturedly at one with nature, pasture signed, posture delivered by years on a stool beside a cow, sitting, leaning, reaching, squeezing in dedicated bow. You can tell he's not used to talking while milking. Tim was interviewing him while he was milking. It's not so easy talking while milking. With eye for what an even squirt and not a word can bring. So that's a little bit on that. Then he had to get rid of his cows because of brucellosis, and the chains in the stable were extended to their last dusty resting place. This is called Chains Extended. Stable echoes by eerie sounds of silence through stalls led. Last milking frozen, commemorated by chains extended to their nails. Milk pails dusty, fusting, rusting red. Manger splendid that will never more be nurture mended. Forlorn deserted dereliction of an outhouse by a homestead. Low stool from where many's the cow-cooling word was said, Jack from a rafter sad suspends. Foregone times suspended. It was a foregone conclusion. For years to him a day of dread, that the time was up, time for stool up, old ways expended, milk squirt from a squeezed teat, down path of progress sped. So that's just about the end of and he was very But I just say finally then, before you go, that Jack Griffin was very much instrumental in making that Last of the Free Rangers. John Lynch made all those films, and I don't know if they're on sale in this store, but if they're on sale, they're only about €10 or something, and they extend for 1 hour, don't they, John? And we're making another one then in July. I think we're going to call it a Regions Verities, and that's going to Carrick-Island and Carrick-Foyle Castle, and where Abbey Dorney, Kirrilyson Abbey, and also to Moher Old Parish, and also to Athea, Blessed Wells in Athea, and also to a couple of other places. And Tim Griffin sent on a file of about 50 or 80 photos to me, and also a book on landscape and heritage of North Kerry. And now I've written 37 pages, which is probably too much for that forthcoming film. But between my little contribution and Tim's historical introduction and John and Charles' camera work, it should be a nice one as well. And that will be a Regions Verities. So we'll soon have the whole of North Kerry covered, and then we'll take something else, or maybe that'll be enough, you know. What do you think, Deirdre? You might join us for a song or something. Oh yes, yeah. Just before I finish, John Lynch asked me to embarrass myself as much as possible by singing one of these little things, and I can't sing at all, but it's funny to hear non-singers singing. So this is page 17 on the book, Writers' Week, to the tune of The Homes of Donegal. And I'd ask Jimmy Deenihan to read the text and join with me in the singing.
I can't sing.
Okay, this is called
desperate.
This is called Writers' Week. John or Tim? No singers. The gurgling music of the field enlightens all the vale, while up on Ballygrennan hill lark tells his own sweet tale. The woods resound with welcome from Knockmoyle to Cardown, for there's no place else on earth just like North Kerry's Listowel town. I always see the happy faces smiling at the door, the kettle singing on the crook as I step up the floor. From Gurtenard to Glenafuca, then on to Coolagown. Your hearts are like your mountains in North Kerry's Listowel town. The time has come and I must go, I bid you all adieu. The open highway calls me forth to do the things I do. The memory glad in my mind's eye will cause no crease or frown of relics, rhymers and writers' week in North Kerry's Listowel town. And now we'll have a final song from Jimmy Deenihan about the Yes vote.
I will ensure you can do more documentaries now.
Okay. Thanks very much.
No, everything grand. No, everything's fine. I think I have. Nothing. Full gems. Thanks to God for the good results.
Oh, is that all right? I have a pen here. Sure. Thanks for coming to you all, you know. But you know these dramatis personae here very well. Tim and Griffin.
John Lynch,
That's the cast. The vital cast.
myself.
Oh no. You can make some use of it there.
It's another dog from Michael Douglas. This is another dog.
So no, okay, I just put the date down.
No, my married name is You met Gary, oh, he's fantastic. You know Michael Gary?
Well, my niece.
He's a fantastic young fellow.
You covered the margin fairly well.
Thank you.
No, Mick was a multimillionaire, he was a builder, and Mick was a sincere communist to the day he died, and I can't say it now because it don't matter. Mick put at least 135 working class Dublin kids that I know about through university before pre-education, and all. Mick asked back, will you work for Ireland for 5 years when you graduated? Shake hands, and he put them through. Usually members of the Communist Party, sons and daughters of the Communist Party, and what he did was absolutely unbelievable.
This was Sean's brother now,
Sean's
like.
brother.
They were born up the bog road
And-
back in Greenville.
And I was talking one time, I met a couple of, I knew Mick Reardon well, I was talking to meet him in at the embankment, and I was in the movement all my life, of course, but I met one of the veterans of the Spanish Civil War, one of the English veterans, a very cousin of his in there, and he was telling me 2 years previous to that he'd been in Leningrad. And when the banners came down in Leningrad and the International Brigade was led in, there under the banner was McKean. And McKean wasn't under that banner because he was good looking. McKean was under one leg of the banner that led the International Brigade in Leningrad for the commemoration.
And the song, you know, In Shame, Love and Shame,
Yes.
is about Mick McCarthy and Sean's sister, who died in childbirth, and she wouldn't be left into the church here.
Oh, I see.
My uncle was very much involved in getting her.
Threatened to take the gate of the hinges.
That's it. That was my uncle John Gearan that did that, like.
Was your uncle John Gearan?
John Gearan, yes.
Well, I often heard Sean mention that name.
Yes, that's
Believe
it.
it or not.
Yes, that's fact, like.
As one of the men in it.
the-
And I'll tell you something else that Sean told me. Part of but this is true not now, and I'd say it's true because this was something very close to him. Sean told me that John Bees parked in the field when the Bull McCabe starts stressing down the priest about what they did and what they didn't do. He said, that's Gearan talking.
I know.
Sean told me that now, so there's one for you to see.
Very, very good. Thanks for that, Donald. And Great Hurley recorded that song, didn't he? In Shame, Love and Shame. And it sang a lot, like by, what's her name, outside in Six Crosses.
I must tell you this though before going on a lighter note. One time herself was in America, and Sean Leckworth, he wanted to hear me, he wanted me to come back, and this was in the old days of the telephone now, and I was before the Vodafone or all the rest. So it took a few days to organise anyway, so I came back, and I was very slow doing it because he was like, Sean just cut out the drink. He was told it was his liver, or the drink, and he had to cut out the drink, and he'd been wounded in Palestine, and he had a very poor liver, and a few things like that. I'll be putting in that he told me that wait till he's gone and I could tell the story, but anyway, went back. So Sean was behind, and he had trying to make coffee. And Sean could no more make coffee, you know, if he was there since God rest the man. And he was an awful state in nerves, and we tried to get it right, and what to do that. And he says to me, Siobhan, I've one of your songs, he said, and maybe a certain female singer. She'll be here someday, and I want you to do the song for her. So I said, Jesus McCarthy, she's gay. Sweet loving acting, Jesus, you stump of a fool! I want you to sing for her, not sleep with her. It just exploded. It was the coffee. I made the mistake of getting into him too early before he had his coffee. A council worker came into him another day, a fellow working the road, and he went to school with him, or he was in the same school as him anyway. He might have